This is a PGA Tour stat chart. It shows the 4 main ways that pros can be better or worse than their fellow pros, along with their average. In 2015, Justin Rose's chart looked like this. He was awesome in every area of his game, apart from putting. Fast forward to 2017, and Rose's chart looks like this. In just 2 years, Rose had transformed from one of the worst putters in golf to one of the very best. And it was all because of this guy and this grip, the claw.
Nothing can stop the claw!
It used to be seen as a kind of act of desperation, but now more and more players keep switching to the claw, and it keeps working.
And he does! 4 in a row, Justin Rose!
And not just for Rose, Scottie, Fleetwood, Morikawa, Nick Taylor, and tons of others. And that's because there's some good science behind this weird-looking grip. It's why it works so well for so many golfers, and why it may even work for you too. Let's dive in. So Justin Rose was a very good player in 2015, but he wasn't a great one, especially on the greens.
And that started right and stayed right.
He ranked inside the top 30 from tee to green, but was outside the top 100 in putting. So that offseason he hired this guy, Mark Brody, who wrote a book all about advanced statistics in golf. Rose had a simple question for Brody. How do I get to world number 1? He asked Brody to reverse engineer a strategy to help him do it. So Brody looked at the numbers and found that while Rose could make marginal gains in all areas of the game, if he really wanted to be world number 1, the biggest gain he could make was on the greens, specifically on putts right around 7 feet.
Looks like he pushed it a bit.
So Rose took that info and hired this guy, Phil Kenyon. Phil's this legendary putting coach, a disciple of Harold Swash. Kenyon took time to understand Rose's putting technique and tendencies, and then came to a breakthrough.
Mechanically, for Rosie, in his transition, he would have like some load in his wrist, where the wrist would go towards a little radial, and he'd create this kind of opening in transition. And you see traits like that with all players can work through all parts of their game. And when he went to claw, that definitely minimised it, because obviously he changed in the sort of axis of the wrist joint. So any movement in this way is now going to be in plane. It's only going to affect loft and not lie angle.
From a young age, Justin Rose had a tendency in his full swing, a very slight one. If you look closely, you can see it right here. In his downswing, the thumb of Rose's right hand would move towards his right forearm, a movement known as radial deviation, almost like he's rehinging the club slightly. See it? Basically, this move would lag the club on the downswing, and in doing so, it would open the face slightly. Rose would then match up this movement later in his downswing with a big rolling release of his right hand through impact. Now this is a perfectly good, manageable pattern for full shots, and it actually helped Rose create a ton of speed, and he had spent years perfecting it. However, on the greens, it was creating kind of a problem. Now, putting at the elite level, it's all about face control. How well can you deliver a square face to the ball consistently?
So, I mean, the key thing about start line is ultimately you're just trying to control face angle. Face angle accounts for 90% of start line. You know, the path doesn't have to be perfect, but you're trying to control the face angle within that path.
A lot of golfers don't realize that their full swing tendencies almost always show up in some form in their putting stroke. And that's what was happening with Rose. On the downstroke, when Rose would apply this force via his wrist, this subtle movement would twist the putter face open, just like it did in his full swing. Except unlike in his full swing, Rose didn't have time to roll his wrist back over, so often he'd miss putts out to the right because of an open club face. Or he'd overcompensate and yank them left. So Kenyon and Rose went into the lab and looked at ways to minimize the issue. Then came the solution, the claw. The reason? It's because it hid Rose's wrist movement. Now with the traditional putting grip, this right wrist movement would open the club face. But by repositioning Rose's right hand less to the side of the grip and more on top of the grip, any movement in his right thumb towards his right forearm would no longer twist the face open. Yes, it may add a bit of loft to the putter, but that's not really a big deal. All the movement of the putter would happen in plane. The club face was under control, which meant less right and left misses. Suddenly, this new way of holding the putter, Rose could putt freely. He could putt without the fear that his natural tendency would cause him to hit putts offline. He was working with his body now, not feeling like he was always working against it.
Really nice read.
I think for me, what the claw did was kind of like desensitized me a little bit. I think I would always be a little bit neurotic about my stroke, and I would always take practice strokes, and I would always feel like micro sensations of, oh, I pushed it or I pulled it, or, and it would always kind of just drive me crazy, really. And I think I was very stroke aware with my putting up until the point of going to the claw, and I feel like the claw kind of just locked out some of the smaller little joints that I would feel some variance in.
And this is the important thing to know if you're a golfer out there thinking about switching to the claw. The claw grip is often a really good fit for golfers with a lot of right hand release through the ball, because the claw essentially makes it impossible for your right hand to take over. And to see why, you have to look at this graph. It shows exactly where golfers accelerate the putter head during their stroke. Kenyon found that the best putters accelerate the putter head the most right here at the end of the backstroke. Think of it like a car flooring it before taking the foot off the gas. You're not accelerating anymore, but the car is still moving fast. That's the feeling the putter head should have as it goes in to hit the ball through the stroke. Now, worse putters force the putter head through way later, right around here, much closer to impact. And very often, it's their right hand that's doing the forcing. When that happens, it doesn't just twist the putter face open, it also makes speed control really, really difficult. And when a golfer has the yips, this same thing happens, but just way, way more. Here's a graph from an old GolfDigest study into the yips, and you can see how the amount of force that golfers apply goes nuts right around impact.
That feeling of loading the backswing enough where you can kind of coast through impact. And I think, putting under pressure, when you're trying to hit the ball towards the hole and you're nervous, that's a really tough place to be. I think when you're basically just flowing the putter and the ball's getting in the way of the flow of the stroke, that rhythm, I think, is much more conducive to putting well under pressure.
Now, the claw can be a really great way of calming an overactive right hand during the stroke. It's why you see guys like Webb Simpson fit really well into the claw. Here's a more extreme version of Rose's move at the start of the downswing, and you can see his right wrist cupping right here. And then the big rolling release later right here. He paired with a claw with an arm lock putter and has had a ton of success with it.
As you said, Raj, he is. He's playing faster. That'll speed up play as well. Yeah, there you go.
Scottie Scheffler and Tommy Fleetwood are two more players who switched to the claw for similar reasons. See, there's that wrist move again, and then the release. The claw neutralized that full swing move in their putting stroke, and again, it worked a charm. Now, there are a few variations of the claw which you often see pop up on tour. The kind Rose uses is the most common. The grip sitting between the thumb and index finger of his right hand, while the palm sits more on top of the grip. That position of your right hand mostly neutralizes your right hand, but also gives you just enough control over the grip to move the putter smoothly. Some golfers still find that their right hand takes over this way, so they move their right hand even more off the club and clasp only with their fingers. Others feel like they need more control of the club, so they clasp the grip with their entire right hand. That's how Chris DiMarco did it. The pencil variation is when you have the right hand claw grip, but place it more on the side of the grip, which can help release the putter through while also calming down your right hand. And then there's the reverse claw, which moves the right hand to the top of the grip and uses the claw grip with your left hand. This actually seems to be a pretty good yip solution because it calms down both your hands. Here's PGA Tour winner Joe Highsmith using that grip in 2025. A quick warning though, players with the opposite tendency tend to be worse fits for the claw. Golfers with more of a hold-off release, think someone like Jordan Spieth or Dustin Johnson, they kind of need more right hand in their stroke. Otherwise, they'll just miss a ton of putts out to the right. That's why you see so many of those kind of players stick with conventional grips or tinker around with grips like left-hand low. So if this sounds like you, tread carefully when it comes to jumping into the claw.
Who's in charge here?
Ultimately, it's all about matching up what your tendencies are with your putting grip. And remember that your full swing can provide some clues. The same moves that happen in your full swing often show up in your putting stroke, for better or for worse. The good news is that unlike in your full swing, on the greens, you can adjust which grip you use to counteract it. But anyway, back to Justin Rose. Starting the 2017 season, Rose committed to the claw grip. In his first start in Hawaii at the Sony Open, Rose gained 0.8 strokes per round putting and finished runner-up. 3 months later at Augusta, in some of the most challenging greens anywhere in golf, Rose again putted his way to the top of the leaderboard before narrowly losing in a playoff to Sergio Garcia. A season later, Rose won twice on the PGA Tour, won the FedEx Cup, and yes, finally became #1 in the world. Now remember that stat chart we showed you earlier? Well, here's how it looked at the end of 2018. A near perfect chart. He was in the top 25 in every strokes gained category, including putting. A simple grip change and a solution to a problem that had finally unlocked his potential on the greens. It improved his game by half a stroke per round, which was all he needed to ascend to world #1. And fast forward again to 2025, and despite being 45 years old, Justin Rose is still playing elite golf. He won a playoff event with a clutch putt and extra holes, and then dominated at the Ryder Cup at Bethpage, silencing the New York crowds with putt after putt after putt, following with some signature fist pumps along the way. This chart shows the statistical data from every player in every session at the Ryder Cup. This column shows strokes gained for players on the greens. In Saturday 4-ball sessions, Justin Rose gained more than 4.5 strokes putting in just 16 holes. That's twice as good as any other player in any other session. Now Sam Burns led the PGA Tour in strokes gained putting in 2025, and he gained less than 1 stroke on the greens per round. And Justin Rose during this round gained almost 5. In the biggest event, under the most pressure, Justin Rose dominated on the greens. And remember, this was a guy who didn't used to be a great putter. Now, the secret to Rose's success isn't necessarily the specific solution he found, but it's how he found it. He identified a weakness, he drafted in experts, then he implemented a plan to improve it. It's something we can all learn from. It may not lead to us holing putts like this at the Ryder Cup, but it may end up with us being a little better golfer at the end of it.
No mistake from Rose, the elder statesman of the European team, pounces at the last.
I hope you enjoyed this episode of Film Study. If you have ideas for future episodes or want other swing stuff for us to dive into, let us know in the comments below. Thanks for watching.